Hello my friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be playing with some of the new Spellbinders products. These just came to me last week and so I'm excited to play with them. I could not wait to play with these. We've got our Floral Stag die cut, and we also have the Candy Stripes die, and then we have the Joyful Christmas Glimmer with the die as well. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with our glimmer foiling, and I've got out my Spellbinders quick trimmer system that comes with this clear plate that has grooves in it so that you can use the little foil cutter that you see there on the side. And I'm just measuring the piece of paper that I'm going to be using. I'm going to pull out some foil. This is more of a like dark gold pewter, not pewter, but like a dark gold, almost like a brown or maybe a bronze. I don't remember. It came in a variety pack. But when I find it, I will link it down below, the one that I did use. And then I'm just going to trim down. This is the best system to use because if you try to stick it in like your guillotine trimmer, it's not going to trim right. Using your scissors, it isn't a straight cut, and that kind of bothers me. So this quick trimmer is amazing. I love using it. And that little mat underneath is just a self-healing mat. You can see that I have the Glimmer hot foil system off to the right hand side. The red light is on. What that means is that system is trying to heat. It's on, but it is not warm yet. So I'm going to let that kind of heat up. Once the green light comes on right underneath it, that means it's ready. And I like to put the foil plate on it to kind of obviously get it started. Press that button. That light's going to flash a little bit. I'll put my foil on top of that. And then once it is done, I will pop it out so that we don't have a bunch of movement. Stick my foil, my cardstock, and then my plates on top of that and run that through my die cutting machine very slowly. And you want to make sure that when you put your foil on top that it's pretty side down. All right, I'll peel that away and you've got all your sentiments all nice and foiled. And I love this because we have a matching die set to go with it. And that die set will cut out all of those sentiments at once. It's awesome. And then so I've got enough for 5 cards ready to go. And you just had to do that the one time, which is great. It's great. All right, so I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. And then we'll have our sentiments ready, and then we can move on to getting the rest of our card ready. So again, this is called the Floral Stag. I went ahead and die cut all of these pieces out of some watercolor cardstock. Today we're going to be doing some watercoloring. You guys have seen me do alcohol marker coloring on these. I love doing it this way. You can also obviously die cut these out of any colored cardstock that you have, but I wanted to show you another way to do it, which is watercoloring. And the way I do it is super, super messy. I think that kind of just adds a different look that you wouldn't normally get. And but you have to be patient with this kind of the kind of way that I'm painting it, because it doesn't look good just being stuck in that paper and painting right on top. And of course, with watercolor, as we know, it works best in layers. So as things dry, I add more layers. I add different colors. But again, just to look at this, it looks like a hot mess and it doesn't look like anything that's going to turn out. What I love about these dies is that there's some die cut portions in them. The color settles in there. Miles is going to come and check it out, do a little quality control, and make sure I'm doing things correctly. But I do like how it kind of the color will settle into those grooves. The colors that I'm using are all Daniel Smith watercolors. Just about any watercolors will do, but I love my Daniel Smith, so of course I will use any opportunity to play with them. And then I'm grabbing different greens, different blue greens, some those cream colors for the antlers, and again, building up in layers. And sometimes it's best to kind of heat things in between so that you can add those layers on, or just move on to the next bit, wait for it to dry as you color something else. I'm not going to bore you with all the coloring because it does look like a mess, and it looks like there's no rhyme or reason to how I am actually coloring these by just slapping down some color. But I do decide to bring in, after I've colored all of these with the different colors, I decide to bring in some Finetec pearlescent colors. These have a lot of great shimmer to them. And so I'm basically only just going to add like the red on top of the red or some orange on the orange, just to add some shimmer to it so that way when it hits the light, it's going to give you this really pretty effect. And I'm drying things in between with my heat tool so that I can add, again, some more of those layers. But these paints are wonderful. They're really, really pretty, and they add such a beautiful glow. I'm using the brown on the side of this one. I love it. It doesn't look like much here, but when it hits that light, it is something. Okay, now we'll bring in our candy stripes. Now this is going to cover the full front of an A2 size card. And so I'm going to get my base ready. And a base would typically measure 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and score it at 4.25. I'm going to have to trim this down on one side, but I do have some more watercolor cardstock. I'm going to spritz this with some sheer shimmer spray. This is the gold sheer shimmer spray, and then I'm going to heat set that. You want to make sure that this is super, super dry before you run this through your die cutting machine. And then you have a couple of options here. I'm going to do some inlay. So instead of using the piece, I'm going to save that piece for another card. I'm using the inlay. I'm going to get started a couple of the pieces, just putting them through, but then I find that this is just more in the way than anything else. So I will put down just, like I said, just a couple of our stripes, and then I can move this away and save that for another card, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And then all I have to do is just kind of line these pieces up. I'm eyeballing it, but you just want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough space. And this one's really easy to do without using the other portion, because it's basically one thick, two thins, and that goes all the way up the one side and all the way down the next side. It's good. And it took a little bit of time, but I love the end result. I think it's super, super pretty. And it goes along with that watercolor of all the watercoloring that I did with our little Floral Stag. And so the next part is just doing some assembly. So I'm going to put some mint tape behind his eyes so that I can pop in the little black eyes that I painted eventually. We'll pull all of our pieces out, and then just using liquid glue, start assembling everything that goes together, put our poinsettia together. I love the variation in the color. I like how the color doesn't go to all the edges or all the tips. I just think that adds to that watercolor effect. And then, like I said, we'll just keep putting all these pieces together. We've got our little holly berries. We also have our flowers. We have our other leaves. And then once we're good with that, we can start putting those pieces down on top of our card base. I have seen some really, really cute things done with this Floral Stag. You could not add the antlers and make it a doe. Add some little flowers to the top of the doe's head. You could add flowers to the antlers. I mean, there's just a lot of little options here, and it's so darn cute. I love that Ranger and Spellbinders got together with Simon Hurley Create, and they created this darling little die cut. It's so right up Simon Hurley's alley. I love his style. It's so great. And yeah, I have another video coming out using one of his Christmas sets that Ranger and Spellbinders got together and made. So I really love that they did it. Super great. All right, so now that all those are in there, I'm going to add the last little bits to the inside of the card. Y'all know I love to do that. And I have all those sentiments off to the side for another card down the road, or several cards down the road. But here we are, just adding those last little bits. And once that's done, that's going to finish off this card. I love how it turned out. I love the watercolor effect. Check out that sparkle. So much fun. And I have another card for you. I'm going to have these down on my blog so you can take a look at other pictures, close-up pictures if you'd like to. This one was using alcohol markers and an embossing folder, and it's a 5x7. So like I said, I'll have my blog linked down below. All the products will be linked down below. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, huge thanks for all the support that you guys leave, watching, subscribing, all the things. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.